Aquila, can you see my screen? Caroline? Yes, Caroline, can you see my screen?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so I will have a member. Thank you. We can see a screen. Thank you. Can I have a member who can lead us through a prayer, and then we proceed to remind ourselves of what we learned last week, and then we can brainstorm what I have for us today as already displayed there. Let's not forget our partners, our people who are giving us this chance to learn are Edify. Dale. Yes, Dale.
Yes, teacher.
Lead us through a prayer.
Okay, humble yourselves for a prayer. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this morning. I want to thank you for the gift of life. I want to dedicate this lesson into your hands. Let whatever the teacher is going to teach us, help us get it clearly and put it into our heads, King of Mercy. In Jesus' name I prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for that. Who can lead us, or rather not lead, but who can remind us of what we looked at last week? I handed in my, most of you, some of you handed in, not most. And I was able to give you back your work. Just a few who handed in, I think, yesterday. But even those, I managed to look at some. So I am happy with those who are trying out this work. General paper is unlike other subjects, an essay writing, literally competition. If you don't practice, you will never learn. The pretense of sitting on and thinking that you know is false. I have told GP for some time, and I want to tell you, the students who we claim to be not brilliant, but practice pass. And the so-called bright students who assume they know have gone out of school with 19 points, but 0 in GP. Not O, but 0. So please, as you sit there in your comfort thinking you know, the only way you can know that you know is through practice. So let us not in any way just sit back and assume we know. It is not right. And you will see that by your grading. And some of you are not sure when you're supposed to sit your name. If the confused government does it the way it is doing it, then you are in trouble. So I expect us as students to have been at least more interested in practicing how to write essays, how to write summary work. Like I told you here that you do not write out the meanings. You don't only write out the meaning of the words. That is number D. Some of you were only writing out Advent. Then you don't put the word Advent. You just tell me Roman 1, coming. What is coming? From where to what? I told you, you must write out the word Advent. Then you write Advent means coming, or you put dash coming. And yet I saw people here who were simply giving me only the meaning of the word. So you find some of those things are what we need to polish. You can never know until you have practice. The same thing with logic. For those who want to do logic, it is practice. And I'm hopeful that before we end this program, I would have at least given you maybe another number 6 and a number 5 at least. So for me, I want to tell you that you must practice if you want to pass. You're not too bright to practice. It is not there. It has never existed. Okay, enough of lecturing in terms of that. So let me go to someone who can remind us of what we looked at last week. or I've already hinted on it. We looked at essay writing. I mean, we looked at a passage. How do we go about a passage? How do we look for the meanings of words? How do we write summary and all that? We did that last week. So this week, I want to introduce us to another thing. I'm interested in us mastering section A. And today I want us to look at electoral violence. Anyone out there who knows the definition or the key terms here, who can be able to define for us electoral violence? If you can be able to define or explain, it is not just about defining. If you fail to define, at least explain, make meaning of electoral violence, so that when for us we are marking, we can be able to know. I have a guiding question under it, but I expect us at least to know what electoral violence is before I even bring in the question, the guiding question. Yes, Mwami Benjamin, Dixon, Docas, Ivy, Babos, Aquida. The people who are quiet in this group, you are welcome, but I want answers. I'm interested in your participation. You are now the candidates we have, so I have to engage my candidates. Jaoko, Timothy Mugisha. Yes. Electoral violence, anyone who can. I hope you can hear me, because the way you're quiet, you are worrying me. I can never preempt something until someone at least tries. That is my rule. So we shall wait on each other until we can be able to say something. Dale. Yes, class, electoral violence. These are current affairs. They will set about current affairs always. And we are not very far from electoral violence. Just a few months ago, we had issues. These are all possible questions. And other areas, current affairs. General paper deals with current affairs. How much do you know of current affairs? What are the most trending things right now? They can maneuver around and set for you questions around the most recent. To you, it might look small, but to the general public, it is, or rather to the teachers, it is an issue that is affecting. We looked at COVID, the effects of COVID. We looked at closure of schools, all those. So here, Judith, yes?
Morning, sir.
Morning to you, how are you?
I'm trying.
That is the most, I'm most interested in a person who tries.
Electoral violence. Electoral violence are actions which the security does that are intended to hurt or damage people who participate in an election.
Okay. Are you continuing?
No.
That is a very strong no. Okay, thank you. Let me have Shalwa. We shall expand our argument with time. Yes, Shalwa.
Good morning, sir.
Morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine. So, sir, I'm trying to explain. Okay, for me, when I look at the word violence, I know that violence is like any form of mistreating and causing physical pain. And when I look at the word electoral, from there, I know that they are trying to talk about things of elections and voting.
Okay.
So if I'm trying to define, and I can say that electoral violence is the form of mistreating people causing injury or physical pain during voting. Yeah, that's my try.
Thank you. I appreciate. At least we are mentioning things that might give us an insight. So I respect that. Let me take one, Dixon. Yes, Dixon. Okay, seems.
No. Morning, teacher.
Morning to you. How are you, Dixon?
I'm good. Okay, I'm trying the definition. Yes. Like electoral violence, these are the acts that are not allowed. That are against the election rules. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Babos. Babos. Hand is up. My advice, get a good place.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning to you.
I think electoral violence,
Yes.
electoral violence, this is the distorting of the right to election, or this is the teacher. I think I'm done trying.
Okay, thank you. You people, if this was a UNEB question, I don't have any student to pass. What is happening? Later.
Okay, good morning, teacher.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine. Okay, electoral violence. I'm just trying, of course.
Yes, I respect that.
Electoral violence is the physical and emotional harm inflicted on people during and after elections.
Thank you so much. You've highlighted something very important. Physical or
emotional
or mental, that is inflicted on people during and after
elections.
Okay, just because now for us, I'll try to change the word elections to something else, but at least you have given us an insight of what we want. Thank you so much. Wensonga.
Good morning, teacher.
Morning, how are you?
I'm okay. Okay, electoral violence, I'm supposing it's physical or psychological torture that is impacted on candidates trying to participate in elections so that it drives them out of the competition.
So that he drives them out of the. Okay, now I do not blame you. We are all Ugandans, so we are a bit, our minds are slightly corrupted. This question is very good. In fact, it has helped me to teach you something. General paper, for you to approach political and social questions, please do not be partial. I want you to be impartial. Don't belong to a side. Don't be emotionally attached. For example, if we are discussing about child violence and they are telling you to discuss, or they're trying to tell you about maybe child work at home, and then because for you they give you a lot of work at home, you have only negatives to present. Please don't. Be neutral. Now this question, most of us politically, we have crossed from yellow to any other color. So we find every point we are giving is almost negative. However, sometimes it is either intentional or unintended. Sometimes it results without your knowledge. So sometimes, but however, I've liked the fact that you've all highlighted something, that it happens during and after campaigns and voting. That is something that I've liked. And I've also highlighted something small. I've said it is either physical or emotional. So let me also see what I had for you here, and then we can begin from here. Mwami says, is any harm or threat of harm to a person or property during election process. Now we want to do away with words like electoral process, and we try to expound what elections means. Okay, let's look at the next bit. Okay, possible question. How can electoral violence be controlled at presidential and lower levels during campaigns? So I tried defining electoral violence is a situation where unruly behavior, sometimes involving physical confrontation, is experienced within places in the process of organizing and after voting. It is a situation where unruly for this case is uncontrolled, something that is untamed, something that is disorganized because of the word violence. So unruly behavior, sometimes involving physical confrontation, is experienced. So sometimes it's physical or emotional, where someone picks, where the character assassination, where they say she wants to be our president, or he wants to be the president, but he has been smoking weed for the last 50, or let's say 10, 15 years. That is also a bit of electoral violence, where they come and raid your home, where they come and do this and that. So those are things we're talking about, electoral violence. If you can remember the political climate during election time, do you remember the situation that we had? Do you remember the people who were hurt, those who were arrested, those who were burning things? Because for the police to come in, sometimes the police comes to control the unruly behavior, but sometimes the police causes the unruly behavior. So it is either way. So for us, where we are looking at a situation where we have unruly behavior, sometimes involving physical confrontation, is experienced within various places in the process of organizing and after voting. So instead of using the word election, because the electoral direct is a word direct from election, for us now we are choosing to call it organizing and or organization, the process of organizing and after voting. Now voting is what we are calling election. We are giving it another word. We said we don't use the same word. We called violence unruly behavior. So that's what we are saying. Do not be fixed. Don't use the same words to give meaning to the same word. No, it occurs to everyone. Sometimes it is to, when you're giving now examples is when you're talking about candidates. For example, when Songa, do you remember the people who were shot at? They were just by the roadside. But when the police came to control, or rather to maintain law and order, they killed many people. That was electoral violence. So it is not specific to a particular person. Yes, that can be an example. However, it is not only to candidates, but even to voters, and most times the majority are the voters, where we do not like opposition people, and therefore we do what? We begin insulting or inciting violence. I want you to be aware of these incidents. Where are the most common incidents? Most of them were around Kampala, Masaka, Mbali. Those are the most affected areas. Kamuli, Jinja, areas where the dominant parties were. In other areas, we had very little, like Mbarara. There was very little because the majority of the people in Mbarara were one-sided. During time for elections, they were quiet. There was barely police. However, when it came to Masaka here, some of us were in Masaka Nyendo. We saw so many, policemen, tear gas, live bullets being fired, but because people were burning tires, that is the unruly behavior. Tires were being burnt, posters were being pulled down. cars were being burnt in Kampala. We all remember those incidents where people were killed in Kampala. That's what we are trying to look at today. Electoral violence is a situation where unruly behavior, sometimes involving physical confrontation, is experienced within various places in the process of organizing and after voting. Let's go back to our guiding question. Now, how can this unruly behavior during and after voting be controlled at presidential and lower levels? How can you control such behavior? So we said you must define the key term, and here today the key term is only electoral violence. That is the only key term. If you want to give us what presidential and lower levels is, it is up to you. But for me, I think it is not as mature or as big as electoral violence. So electoral violence. So we can add something more. In your introduction, you can say this has been seen as different parties identify flag bearers and is worsened when campaigns begin. Innocent people have lost their life. Shooting, beating, arrests have been seen in various parts of the country. I am just trying to add more flesh to the bone. I am trying to add more things to my introduction to make meaning. That this is not out of the blue. What is causing it? I have highlighted it. That for us in Uganda, it is because of the multi-party system. The fact that we have so many parties. And this time, the biggest rival parties were the NOP and the yellow color, that was NRM. Of course, FDC was not left out. In other areas, UPC was not left out. And all these Marawat, all those other parties, their owners felt entitled that they must win. And in so doing, they caused a lot of electoral violence when everyone wants to possess and take part, or rather win. So I don't know, does that make sense to you people? Is there something you want to add within the Sanyu?
I'm just asking.
You're asking.
Yeah, you give an example of what happened in Uganda. Is it what we are supposed to do?
Yes.
The introduction.
Yes, I have done that, because here what I have done is I have given you an highlight, because apart from definition, usually we say, how do you get the 5 marks? We say 5 marks are 3 marks are obtained from definition. When you're able to define the key terms, we give you 3 marks. Then there's what we call history. That history is not really history as in the history that you know of or maybe high school. It means the background of it, like which other additional is, like when you say in even biology, we have what we call the literature or the concept around it. So here, what we do is we are supposed to build, for example, this one, we're supposed to build, slightly tell us what are the causes and the effects. You can add that within the, or when does this happen? When does electoral violence, or what is the most immediate cause of electoral violence? And we have said it is seen as different parties identify flag bearers. Before this is done, even within inter-parties, for example, let us look at inter-party disputes. When NRM, before NRM choosing its own flag bearers, there was a bit of peace. But when NRM went for its primary elections, they had issues. So many people could not accept that they have been denied. And others others felt they did not deserve. Immediately, people started fighting. In Mbarara, if you've heard of Isidoro, there's a lady called Isidoro. she was rivaling with another NRM member to a point of almost them killing themselves. So that's what we are looking at, electoral violence. It can be at primary level, it can be at presidential level, because even in NUP, there were issues when people were denied, so there was violence as well. In FDC, there was an issue as well. So that's what we are looking at, the electoral violence, presidential, and the lower levels. Lower levels involves, maybe you can also talk about, you can now talk about those different levels of lower levels. Let's say we talk about the MPs, we talk about LOC5s and all those other places that are voted for. LOC3, those are all lower levels. As long as it involves election, where people are supposed to vote you, we would call that electoral violence. Nabodu says, excuse me, teacher, is it all supposed to be in one paragraph? I mean, the definition and the additional explanation. It is okay. There is no problem having it in one paragraph. Introduction can be in one paragraph. But even if you separate it, we can still know that you are still dealing with the introduction. So it is still okay. The only important thing is you must introduce. We want to see that you have introduced. I don't know if I've answered Sanyo. Sanyo, are you satisfied? Your hand is still up.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now I go to the other part of the question. The other part of the question is asking us, how can we control this? However, apart from different parties choosing different flag bearers, also ask yourself the question, what causes electoral violence? That is also a key question to you, because how can you give measures to something that you do not understand is causing it? What is causing electoral violence, for example? Let me start with Sharon. Yes, Sharon? Okay, Sharon prepares. Let's take Bob Mura. I think Bob Mura.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
I think one of the causes of electoral violence is, I'll go with after voting, is when the citizens or the parties are not contented with the results declared by the Electoral Commission.
That is a very important point. The dissatisfaction of members or of citizens of the declared results by the Electoral Commission. That is very true. Let us take another one. Agi, what do you think causes electoral violence?
When the voting is not a free and fair game.
Yes, when voting is not free and fair, where you feel like other people are being denied chance to campaign, others they are denied chance to vote. Definitely we expect electoral violence. Van Matthias.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine. I think the influence of multi-parties.
Influence of?
Like when the parties.
I haven't understood you.
So political parties.
Influence of political parties, how so?
Like, for example, in Uganda, we have a lot of political parties like no NRM words, so they never come to an agreement. Also during the time.
That is a very good point. The poor system of multi-partyism or political pluralism, that is a very important point. And actually, in general paper, we have another question. Was Uganda ready for political pluralism? Discuss. That is yet another political question that we can deal with. Mariam. Yes, Maria. As Mariam is preparing.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
I would say that what has caused electoral violence is
your network?
Yes.
You're saying?
I'm fine. So my point is crave for ruling for authority.
Okay.
Among the crave for ruling, crave for authority.
Okay, political
Hello.
hunger. Yes, political hunger. That is true. There are people who are politically hungry. They always want to eat and feed on more power. That is very true. Thank you, Mariam. Just that your network, try to sit in a better place. We can pick on you. At Maggie spoken, Nigel.
Good morning, teacher.
Morning, how are you?
Okay, like I don't know how to phrase my answer, but
Just
like
give it to us.
most of the times, like in an area when different people have different, like how it was, how you have explained it, that in Barara, most people were on the yellow side. So there wasn't a lot of like riots, but then in Kampala, different people had different, like, yeah.
That's what we talked about, the multi-party system, which the presence of the various political parties that also brings about division among the people. That is also very true. So after knowing all these causes, after knowing all these things, now we are asking ourselves the most important question of the day. Those who have not spoken, you'll forgive me. I just wanted to highlight if you have the idea. But let us go back to our question now. How can we control this problem? How can we control? Or these ones are saying, teacher, what about nepotism among the people who want power to stay in their family line? When Songa, I don't know about that, but yes, it is very true. Nepotism, where you always favor your own relatives and you want to fix them in power. That is also very. Now let's have solutions, because our question here is, how can we deal? How can we reduce? How can we be able to deal with this problem? That is the question we have today. So as a class, what do you think? How can we be able to deal with this issue? That is my interest today. The question is here, how can electoral violence be controlled at presidential and lower levels during campaigns? Emerald Emmanuel. Emerald. Emerald Emmanuel, I think your network is not good. Let us pick on Daisy. Excuse me. Yes, Daisy.
Teacher, good morning, teacher.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine. I think the way to reduce electoral violence is through sensitizing people on the dangers of electoral violence. For example, if telling people that people can lose their lives because of electoral violence, and I think through sensitizing them, it can at least stop it can make them get informed about the dangers, and maybe it can reduce electoral violence. Thank you, teacher.
Okay, you're welcome. Let me go to Lovin.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
Good morning, sir.
Morning, how are you?
I'm good.
Hmm.
I'm fine. So I would like to try.
Do, please.
So I will say candidates and aspirants should strictly follow the guidelines of the Electoral Commission and have voters' safety and security.
That is very true, because one of the causes was the failure of the candidates to follow the set rules and regulations and the timetable. So eventually they found themselves colliding. And you see, some of these things is you find yourself that you're all in one center and yet you're not supposed to be there at the same time, because we know that most times that causes issues. So that is yet another another concern we can deal with. Thank you so much. Let us have Sanyu. Sanyu.
Teacher, what about
Yes.
setting up strict rules and punishments in case of refusal?
Okay, setting up strict rules. Setting up strict rules, that is true. When Songa?
Teacher, I'm trying. Okay, what about proper training of the defense forces that are present during the voting period?
Yes, those are electoral officers. They should be educated. They should be educated. That is true. Let me pick on Layton. Layton, your hand has been up for some time.
Okay, teacher, what if I say through debate, through encouraging debates among the aspiring candidates to promote unity? For example,
Yes.
maybe presidential debates and then debates at the lower levels.
Okay. Well, we can also maybe talk about joint party, there's that Ugandan organization that brings all parties together. If all parties can join, it would be good for them to foster peace. Now, your answers are all correct. However, the way you're stating them is my problem. Your answers are slightly not giving me a complete feel of stating a point. So let me also at least give you my example so that you see what I'm talking about. So that when you're giving yours, it should be guided by mine. So this is how I stated my point this time. The first one, which someone mentioned, continued sensitization and education, especially where there is multi-party politics, which can be done using radios, TV stations, newspapers, etc. Now, I have stated my point. Not just saying sensitization and education. No, I have said continued throughout the elections and after the elections. Continued sensitization and education, especially where there is a multi-party politics, which can be done using radios, TV stations, etc. That is my point. So you're able to know that the sensitization should not just stop when things are okay or done. You must continue. Now, this one, you're not only doing for politicians, but even for their voters. Are we together? Even for their voters. True. The person who has given the last answer here, let me see. Irina, that is true. We talk about improving. You can talk about increasing and improving security during and after elections. That is yet another good, another good point. Okay, let me go to the next one. There is Isaiah here. Isaiah, you have a hand up. You want to ask something?
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
I was just trying to maybe say another point on how to control electoral violence.
Do.
I would think that educate the electorates on social media uses and the mushrooming propaganda. You know, a lot of junk and the fabricated information is always spread via these social media channels. In the especially maybe Facebook, Twitter. Like, remember there was a time when during the other election of last year, before when a lot of information is being circulated over social media, which information could not be true. I would think that this can cause a lot of electoral violence during and after the election. Thank you, sir.
Okay, maybe you can state it and say that the information that is published during and after election should be verified and quantified by the Uganda Communications Commission, UCC, so that what you post out there is true, or at least it should be verified before it is posted. That is very true. This one is saying, Tabitha is saying, teacher, I'm new in this Edify class. Yeah. Okay, now Tabitha, you are very new here. How can I help you? We are already in the heat of the matter. However, Tabitha, we are having a general paper lesson. We have these lessons every Friday at 9. You just get the timetable. We shall be able to work together. There is no problem. I will also leave my number here when I'm okay. Actually, my number is part of this presentation. You can just go to the first page. I'll post this work in our Google platform, and you'll be able to pick what you want. Okay, let me go back to my second point. I said implementation of set laws that are not selective to some. All people in crime must be tried in the same way. Now, we noticed that during these other elections, NRM people, if you're an NRM person, please, you have to endure with me. But it was evident on TV that when NRM people would vote, would go and campaign, they would be in multiples, in numbers. And yet, when other parties tried, they would be arrested. So the rules were not balanced. The state property and the state machinery was in favor of one part. Even the so-called Electoral Commission seemed to be inclined on one side. So those are the things we are talking about. There was imbalance in laws. And that's why most people have appealed. So next time what we need to do is to implementation of the set laws should be non-selective. They should apply to all people, to NOOP, to DP, to UPC, to ANT, to NRM. All these parties must operate on the same laws. For example, what you do as a leader of one party should be acceptable to all other leaders, not only some selected leaders. That's what we are saying here today. So implementation of set laws that are not selective to some. If someone has committed a crime, they should be arrested. They should not be left out because maybe they are of a particular party. Teacher, I don't agree with you on that. Also, the position we are also taking a lot of people. Ahewa Brian, where are you? Come and explain yourself. Where's Ahewa Brian? He's here. Aheba, you can unmute and then you explain. We're having a discussion. This is now A level. You don't have to fear. Come and explain. Yes, Aheba Brian. You can unmute and share. The man is fearing the discussion. Maybe what I can ask him is how many NRM people, or those who were campaigning, or rather the electorates, how many NRM members are still inside, the voters who were arrested? like the ones that were arrested in Masaka, the ones who were arrested in Kalangala when Bobby Wine went there, the FDC people who are still inside. How many NRM guys do you know, and how many members of NRM are requesting to leave prison? The prisons are filled with opposition members. So what I'm telling you is not out of the blue, but you can always see in the court which people are being paraded there. They are always in the opposite of party. I said it is not right for you to be politically injured when we are having a discussion. If you belong to NRM, you be objective for you to learn general paper. If you are able and you feel you are attached to NRM, then you are in trouble. You need to be balanced in your brain when we are dealing with the partial questions like this one. So that's what I can request you, that when we are giving examples, you can also give your example, which is, as long as it is valid, it is allowed. I have not refused you, but please let us not kill some points because you belong to a certain party. That is my request. My next point here, there must be an independent electoral commission by setup that ensures confidence even before work is done. This reduces the anger that would otherwise be expressed in the public. Now, did you know in Uganda that the Chigundus are all elected, or rather they are appointed by the ruling party? Most people have not been satisfied by the results of electoral commission, but other people are constituting the fact that the person who heads electoral commission is by law appointed by the president or the ruling party. It is very hard for such a commission to be partial. It is hard for it to be rather independent. It most times finds itself belonging to a side. And that's why most people are not satisfied. At the lower levels, if we're not only talking about presidential levels, at lower levels, it is very hard for you, for example, in a commission, or because even the LOC 5s and all those, if you have people who are manning the stations belonging to only one party, it will be hard for those votes to be counted fairly. So we need to have every voting station have members of all parties. So that's what we are saying, that there should be a balance. The electoral commission at all levels, let it be at the rural, at the village, at town, at council level, all of those should be independent. They should not be ruled by the government, or they should not be for the opposition favoring. That's what we are saying. This one is saying promotion of equality amongst the candidates. This is seen when most times the candidates in the currently ruling party are more favored, especially in terms of disciplining them, other than. Now, your explanation does not go hand in hand with your point. If you talk about promotion of equality amongst the candidates, it should be during and after. What is your point? What are you explaining? That's what I want to see there. Your explanation is falling on one side. Good morning, sir. This one says, designing legal provisions which facilitate credible process for the registration of voters, political parties, candidates, introduction of rules and regulations. Okay, now there are so many points here. The first point is designing legal provisions which facilitate credible processes for registration of voters and political parties. Yes, this is a very good point. Most times in Uganda, we manually register our voters. So you find that if you miss, someone can easily tamper with those registers. And that's why in Mbarara, there were so many registers which were tampered with. You find in the registry or in that book, you find that the people who died long time ago are there. Those who are alive are missing. Those who shifted are present. So those things cause a lot of drama during and after election. people don't feel satisfied. Then the second point that person stated is introduction of rules. The point is now jumping around. Introduction of rules and regulations to be followed during elections and after. That is very true. Thank you so much, Ryan Miguel, for sharing. Any other person who can share with us his point? Odially, you can put up your hand. I was just giving you mine so that we incorporate into yours, especially the way I am stating my points. I am happy with Miguel rather, the way he has stated his points rhyme with the way I want, because they must be stated, not listed. That is very important. Any other person? Charles, it is okay for you to speak. This is your class. Charles? Mwami, you are quiet. Bob, Dixon, Ama, Mbabazi. Aine mani, who else? Aebwa has kept quiet. I thought he would come and explain his point, but he has run away. Don't fear to defend yourself. This is the beginning of you being a leader. In general paper, we believe in discussions. Which other points can we add? As I wait for hands, I will advise you to teacher the use of digital platforms like television stations and radios for campaigns to reduce demonstration. Now, even that, we talk about equal chances given to all candidates to campaign through all platforms. That would be the point. Yes, Isaiah.
Teacher, the Electoral Commission should make mobile audio-visual display messages and short video films by engaging experts in performing arts, especially drama, to produce video clips in line with the electoral process. I would think this should clearly show an acceptable voter behavior, forms of election malpractices, and how they can be avoided, and the legal implications of electoral violence among the electorates.
Okay, thank you so much. But the purpose of those should be to sensitize. The whole point is the video, audio, all those should be to sensitize or to educate people, especially even on their rights, their limitations, and generally their scope as people, you know, either who are campaigning or those who are voters. Everyone, they should give you your limitations and your where you're supposed to reach, your scope. They should design for you and let you know that this is where you stop, this is how far you can, this is how far you can go. Okay, thank you. Any other? I'm seeing Isaiah, your hand is already up. Emma Roach. Yes, Emma Roach. Emma Roach, I think your network. Others are saying through peace building among the competing parties in order to prevent electoral violence among voters. Thank you. Let us go to the next point here. Oh, there was this one. The organizers of elections should set dates and places when and where the different candidates cannot confront each other. If, for example, those who know Masaka, if we are two candidates, say Mbide should be in Chitovu, Kuchurch, another one should be taken Kusaza. That is another good thing, spacing these candidates so that they do not confront each other during that time. The next point here, state organs, namely the army, police, should limit their involvement in politics and try to be neutral. However, do you see this point? They should be neutral in such a way that they do not only come to arrest opposition members. This is a very important point. We saw how political leaders were so involved. Tanga Odoi in Tororo was rallying masses to boycott other people's campaigns. What kind of idiocy is that? And yet eventually you are also a leader. But because you belong to a certain party, that's what causes political violence. Eventually people can end up burning people's property in the bid to fight for their rights. Vianney?
Good morning, teacher.
Is that Vivian?
Yes, Vivian.
Okay. Okay.
Good morning, teacher.
Morning. How are you?
Shamia was saying, I think the police and army should not try to be neutral. They should be neutral. I think it's stated somewhere in the constitution, but then you find that in our country, even generals and what can be ministers and belong to a party, yet they are not supposed to do so.
We have manipulated, thank you, we have manipulated our constitution in that now we have representatives. The military people have their own representatives, so you find that they have fixed them everywhere. However, when I say that they should try to be neutral, it is because they are biased. So when I say they should try, there should be an extent of being neutral where you say, I am a police officer, mine is to maintain law and order. If you are not supposed to go through here, even if you are in the ruling party, you should be stopped. But the problem we have is ours are neutral. You find that ministers are campaigning using state property, using state machinery like the army and the police are the ones escorting these people. So eventually you fear them, or they're the ones that cause kavuyo. They cause a lot of havoc because people are in fear of them. Okay. Others are saying enforcing impartial state laws. This is a good one. Stuart, I agree with you. Introduction of single party rule, whereby the state is run on only one political party. I would assume it is a very good solution. Because we are, as Uganda, we are not ready for the multi-party system. That is a very good point, Stuart. Those who are sharing, I love the way you're sharing. Another one, voters should be sensitized on the quality of manifestos candidates present in order for the not as such. I'm not satisfied. I'm not as satisfied. Later on.
Okay, teacher, there is this point that I talked about, the one for presidential debates and then bringing together those who have contested. For example, there was a program on NBS. It was called is it the frontliners? Something not really like that, but they used to bring those candidates.
They're just presidential debates.
Yes, like they used to bring those candidates aspiring for the same post. For example, they brought these candidates who were aspiring for the post of Kampala Woman MP. They brought Shamim Malende, Dr. Sarah Nyanzi, those people, they brought them and then they talked to them. They were asking them what they would do once they become the MPs. So that's my point.
Okay, thank you. That eventually shows even our voters that it is okay for us to be united as long as we discuss meaningfully. Tabitha.
Good morning, teacher. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, how are you?
I think also, if, for example, like for a presidential candidate, if the current president is part of the candidate, they should not be they can use their powers as an advantage to be confronting the other candidate and to be doing such stuff. So I think if the current president or a member of parliament or anyone is part of the contestants, they should not be using their powers to be confronting the other people.
Okay, we can talk about reduction of state property during elections, which involves state machinery, the army, the police, and all those things. Somehow there should be a way to say, if we are campaigning for presidency, During that time, there is no president. The prime minister, or yes, the prime minister should now be the acting president, so that we are all on neutral grounds. But you cannot be competing with someone for presidency, and yet for him is already the president. He has all the state property, he has all the state monies. So eventually it's very hard for you to compete with such people. And that's why eventually we find that violence starts. Other points I've mentioned are here involve election observers. Now, these are usually from outside your country. People from the US can come in, Sudan, within East Africa, we had observers coming in, so that is also very much allowed. The state should avoid using its office to prepare for the next term. This is what I'm talking about. You are competing with the Lukwago, the mayor. The man is still the mayor. He has everything at his disposal. He has still, at that point, they have still left him with all the escorts. He is still remaining with all the accounts. He can easily borrow and channel this money and beat you. And remember, these days, Ugandan politics, it's about money. These are things we are talking about, that there should be reduction. In fact, we should avoid, or rather prevent, the use of these offices during elections. That is yet another point. I have other points that I have given you here. You can be able to use them, that hold culprits individually responsible for the uncalled for conduct that sometimes ends in loss of life. Those people, for example, the man who hit the police lady during the riots in Kampala, he was arrested and remanded. Those are things we talk about. So many arrests were made for all those who caused Kavio. Release the results timely. Another problem, another cause is that results are not released in time or on time. Most times they are released after some time and people do not trust such results. Those involved in politics should develop a culture of accepting defeat. Now, this is what we can talk about: counseling and guidance to leaders who have lost elections. So they should accept that the man has beaten me, the lady has defeated me, I should be able to go. Maggie says, teacher, I think they should give specific time for presidency. Like in America, that can also reduce the overstay in power. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, I did not even realize time had gone. Members, we have done great in this lesson. I'm going to share this work in our Google Classroom. Immediately after this lesson, I'm going to share. So I want to thank all members who have been able to participate. Those who have shared, we appreciate, and may God bless you abundantly. All questions may be asked in our Google Classroom and our WhatsApp. I am available. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Excuse me, teacher. Excuse me, teacher.
Hey, yes.
Teacher, like I'm new in the class. Can you please like guide us on how the paper, like the GP paper, is like something like that?
It is too late. Time is up. But I'm going to please pick my number. Pick my number, and then I will guide you in case you need something.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.
Thank you for the lesson.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.